Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Welcome back, Sixers, to another episode of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. This is episode 120. Today is October 10th, 2022. I'm Bill, and I'm joined, as always, by my subterranean co-hosts, Amy and Jordan. Welcome.
Hello and welcome to my basement.
It's true with me. And it's true
only
with
partially
Amy.
true.
I'm in my basement, so you know.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm in my living room on high with a window that looks out onto the street. It's kind of great.
It's fine.
So this episode, we are continuing our discussion of the Lost Metal preview chapters, because remember, the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is not a spoiler-free podcast, and tonight, and likely at least next episode, possibly others, we'll be discussing a book that isn't even published yet. So if there's something in the Cosmere, especially Mistborn Era 2 or Era 1, but not necessarily limited to that, that you haven't read and you're worried about hearing spoilers, I would strongly recommend that you go read those first, then come back, join the discussion, because we want you to be here as part of the discussion, informed and eager and excited like we are.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. For those of our listeners who listen to the podcast recordings or watch the videos on YouTube after recording is done, we would like to remind you that it's possible for listeners to interact with us live via chat as we record each episode at www.twitch.tv/innkeeperstable. We record episodes every other Monday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, so please join us and become an active part of our community, our chat. Join the discussion. Help guide it.
Yes.
Indeed.
Give us memes.
Now, the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. The show will, of course, continue to be free, but if you want to help us out, head on over to patreon.com/Cosmere Studies and pledge $1 or $2 per episode. It would really help us out as we work to improve the show. Patrons get immediate access to our Discord channel where you can talk about the show and the Cosmere with other listeners. We've got a great community. We've got a lot of great discussions about a lot of great topics with a lot of great people. You also get early access to bonus episodes. You get exclusive access to other bonus content and other good stuff along with that. Particularly, potentially, a Kolos Headmunching Day card this year from a very special guest artist who we will talk about at another time.
Maybe. Let's not make guarantees.
Oh, I said potentially.
Look, she's a hard get for me, okay?
We also want to thank specifically our new patron, Brian G. Thank you so much for being part of the community, for helping us out with the show. Just thank you for being awesome.
Thank you, Brian.
We appreciate it. So now it's time to check in with Jordan on the Mistborn Era 2 reread. How is that coming along?
Editing. That's how it's coming along.
That's how it's coming along?
I hate editing. It's a shame because I'm a video editor.
Indeed.
It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun to make the episode than to edit the episode.
I see. Okay, well then we'll move directly from that into the Cosmere Thing of the Week. So this Cosmere Thing of the Week for this episode is a really cool fan art I came across on Reddit. It's a Vin, and it's by user u/devbang on Reddit. And it's just gorgeous.
It is pretty.
It really is gorgeous. Like, there's not a whole lot to go into. It's just a really cool, detailed depiction of Vin, her face holding a coin, or not holding a coin, but levitating a coin in front of her. And it's just stunning. So if you are interested in checking that out and you're listening to the audio version, we do have a link in the show notes. So definitely go check that out. It's absolutely worth looking at. Moving on now to the Sanderson news. So currently, or the last week, Brandon was at New York Comic Con. so he wasn't able to record an update for this week. But last week's update was chock full of goodness.
Lots and lots.
Yeah, so the first thing he mentioned was that he is now 100% finished with Defiant, which is the fourth and final book in the Skyward series. Not necessarily the Cytoverse. He's talked about potentially having others, but it's the fourth major book in the Skyward series. So that's done and should be coming out sometime next year, I believe. So look forward to that. Dragonsteel 2022 did sell out pretty quickly, but there's a cool announcement. They have opened up 2,000 extra tickets. As of 8 o'clock Mountain Time this evening,
so Monday,
there were
the 10th.
Of the 10th of the day we record, Monday the 10th, there were 1,745 tickets left, which those are the $55 tickets for both nights, as well as 102 of the VIP badges, which are $250 and include all sorts of goodies and access and
books and shirts and all the things.
And it gives you like an entry into a raffle to get into Brandon's signing, because there's so many people coming that they have to raffle off the ability to go now.
I mean, if they didn't, all it would be is Brandon signing the entire time.
Yeah,
his poor arm.
It makes me long for the days when Brandon was smaller and I didn't, and I was part of the few who knew him. But I'm happy for his success, and I have to grudgingly accept that comes with downsides for me.
Yeah. So apparently, you guys know why it happened? Why there were more tickets?
Because they opened up several rooms at the.
Because somebody else canceled, I think is what it was.
Oh, really? And so they were able to get those.
So they were able to get more rooms, or I'm not exactly sure what rooms they got, but that's what I remember seeing in an announcement. So I'm like,
I hadn't heard that. I thought they just reached out and said, "Hey, we need more room. Can we get more room?"
No, I think it was that I don't know if they reached out or if they found out or what, but I think somebody else canceled or something. So, hey.
All I know is it could potentially vaguely help us.
Yes. Which we can talk about, actually. Yeah. So because there is a good chance because of that we'll be able to record an episode live at the con like we did last year.
Yes.
Which was
so if you're in town, if you're coming to the con, you should definitely come to that recording. That we'll have more details moving forward, but we don't have any specifics at the moment.
No guarantee, but it is probable.
Yeah. Now, at the end of the convention, the doors will open to the public, even if you don't have a ticket, to hear Brandon's speech. His special, "Hey, I'm releasing a book. Thank you for being awesome," all that stuff. And he'll probably talk about some stuff. He is keeping it spoiler free that night because it'll be a big crowd. But Monday night, he will have spoiler conversation.
And I think they had an online link last year, and I don't remember which one it was for. I think it was for spoiler free, right?
Right. I think so, because that's the one they open up to everybody.
So it's likely that even if you can't physically be there, you may be able to get that link somehow.
We can't say that definitively. We're not, we don't have any say over that. But based on what happened last year, there's a chance that it could happen.
Yeah.
There's also going to be a lot of panels. We'll each be on one panel, so that should be
I'm excited because I'll be on one with Daniel Green.
Me too. I know. It's crazy.
I'm gonna see if I can have him do the entire panel in his George R.R. Martin impression.
So the next announcement is that the Stormlight Miniatures Kickstarter is now, he said like 2.5 million, but as of tonight, it's $3.175 million, and there's 3 days to go, which means if you're listening to this episode on the day it releases, you really need to get in fast, because it's either today or tomorrow that the Kickstarter is going to end. So act like it's today, because you got to get that in, and you don't want to miss your opportunity.
And you can do, if you don't want to do all of them or anything, you can do like $1 and then pick and choose add-ons. Things that you want to do.
Now, if you do all in, it's definitely cheaper than putting them all together, but it's not cheap.
Yeah, but if you're,
I know, because I am weak, and I did end up caving and go all in because I have a deep and serious problem.
So true.
Jordan, this is a cry for help. Don't taunt me.
I'm not taunting. I'm trying to support your decision making.
I'll just live vicariously through your miniatures, Bill, because.
And my Maxitures, because there's going to be the giant statue and the Chasm Fiend.
I know, the Chasm Fiend. I'm just hoping that when the game comes out. Yeah. So when the game eventually comes out, I'm hoping that we can just get that, and then I can get the miniatures, and it'll be okay. So
we just know that I'm, a better Sanderson fan than you are. That's all.
no, you
It's
just
true.
don't. I have
Oh.
children and a husband who vetoes things, and I love him very much.
Oh,
but
I
he
thought you were
vetoes things.
flexing on me. I was like, dude,
No.
harsh.
No, I'm saying
It's like,
it's
you have your miniatures. I have children and a husband.
You will die alone. Ah!
I think that's our episode title.
you will die.
You have your miniatures. I
Yes.
have children and a husband.
Oh, I can't win.
You
with
have
this
your little
conversation.
plastic toys.
I can't
already
wait
have
to
a big
retcon
cabinet
this
full
in
of
the
them.
future and pretend she actually said this. All right.
Oh man.
Petty Amy's
Yes.
going to be my new favorite character.
she and Art and
that
Greg
was loud.
can hang
Sorry.
out.
Oh man, Art and Greg. We're
He
best
also
buds.
mentioned that the preview chapters of The Lost Metal are up, which of course we are discussing tonight. Heads up, chapter 9 posted today, and it didn't show up on any of our Google searches until like 5 minutes
Now.
before the show.
It was 10 minutes.
Maybe 10 minutes.
Still
but
not
it
enough
says
time.
that it posted at 12. So I don't know what happened, what was going on. There were links missing on a couple of the pages, I think. Anyway, so we're talking about chapters 3 through 8. We will not, unfortunately, be talking about chapter 9 today.
Next time.
Which makes me sad because it's a wax perspective, and that's where
But there were some
gritty
super
stuff.
cute
There were some
wax
great
wax ones. This one, I love these. Anyway, we'll keep going.
Also, they're re-releasing Edge Dancer. I think he's doing this one under their own self-published heading, and it looked like the audiobook was being released under the what's it called? Mainframe.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. Yeah.
And then there's also going to be a 10th anniversary.
That's just good because whenever I'm telling people to read stuff, it's like, okay, you need to go get this the Cosmere Unbounded, but okay, you can read these ones. Arcanum, yeah. It's like you can read these ones, but not those ones. Those are spoilers. You can't go there.
Wait for this.
Go here.
You have to read these in this order.
8, 7, 2, 3. Yeah, it's hard.
There's also going to be a 10th anniversary edition of The Emperor's Soul, but it doesn't look like it's going to be leather-bound, which makes me really, really sad because it's my favorite of his books, and I really want a fancy copy of it. So, but
eventually,
yes,
I'm sure someday.
I do think with Brandon, some of the stuff he's trying to go at a certain pace so that he doesn't overburden people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's got, he's going to be doing the leather-bound Kickstarter for Words of Radiance next year as well.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And I mean, especially shortly after, I mean, in 2 years, he's done 3 Kickstarter campaigns.
Well, he said he's actually going to be doing 2 Kickstarters every year now. One book related and one
because he's not guaranteeing. Yeah,
right.
Up to 2. He's going to probably do a book every year though.
It'll likely be a book related one and a swag related one.
Yeah.
So
he doesn't want to do more than that because he doesn't want to make everybody broke.
Yeah. So like the one that's going on right now is a swag related for the miniatures.
I love that he understands that a lot of his readers, like Bill, don't have self-control. And I support this lack of self-control because, again, we get to vicariously experience it through Bill.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You live in my basement, so I get it, and you come up and...
and then I don't lick it.
We're back to that again.
Your tongue is going to be in the sump. I will cut it off and bury it there.
Oh, man.
Episode is dark. We haven't even gotten to the books yet.
Oh, boy.
We're acclimating people to the
We're warming them up. That's great.
Final announcement that Brandon said is in November he's going to be doing SandoRimo, not NaNoWriMo, but SandoRimo, where he is going to be posting his daily word counts for as he writes Stormlight Book 5.
Is it? Yeah, because the Brandon experience is every day is NaNoWriMo.
I know.
But this is SandoRimo.
Well, actually, he doesn't write every day anymore because he has to do business meetings some days.
I think Thursday is his business day.
I think he says that he gets to write like 3 days out of the week instead of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, I don't think you said that right. I think it said business.
That business. We don't need to bring Muppets into this. That would be another episode title. Anyway,
this episode has a lot of titles.
Yes, there will be subtitles and colons and hyphens and undertitles and everything. It's great.
Parentheses is great.
So before we descend even further into madness, let's talk about the book, shall we? The chapters that we've read.
Oh, that thing. Yes, the thing we're here for.
I loved so you have broadsheets as the first thing. I loved there was a thing
sheets.
about like stop doing the SUNY Cubs or whatever it was. It was
the ads. They don't want the ads. They feel like there's something wrong with the company that makes SUNY Cubs because
it was
of course
a letter
there's a
to
corrupt
the editor.
company.
Was it a corrupt company or was it they were
no?
Doing,
it was
they weren't doing
the
them
historical,
right?
the historical egregious depictions of the Ascendant Warrior's companion, and I believe 100% it's Tensoon who wrote this. He is like, occupying someone's buddy to send letters to the.
I don't know. I could see this as just being some, hyper
don't
zealot.
Take this from me. I want Tensoon to be writing letters to the editor.
Honestly, I can see Tensoon rolling his eyes at both the people who made the SUNY Cubs and whoever wrote this letter.
Because he's like, does it really matter?
He's just like, let it drop.
He's like, I was a dog for how long? Really?
Well, he still is. No, he still is. Like, he always goes as a dog, remember?
Oh,
he shows up as a dog from time to time.
He shows up as a dog. He's adopted the form.
He is the Grim.
It's great.
Well, yeah, because he learned, wow, this is actually a really useful form to have. It's so fast.
Well, and also, it's a reminder of his friend.
Yeah.
So
I should have brought my SUNY Cup over. It's so far.
But
away.
also, we get some more Nikki Savage, which is all sorts of fun.
There was all sorts of stuff in this.
Oh my goodness! I'm like this much space, just like so much.
I didn't.
Why don't you tell us about it, Jordan?
Well, I didn't. Did I miss it last time we did this? That she used to be an assistant to Alamancer Jack.
I think that may have been mentioned in passing somewhere, or that may have been in a word of Brandon. I don't think that's brand new information, but it's not like common information.
Yeah, I didn't remember it whatsoever, but she's apparently just traveling around with Condra.
Why not?
It's fun.
It's just
what the cool kids do.
Yeah, apparently.
Don't?
No, I don't.
Maybe
unless
you do.
Unless you have things you have to tell me.
I have so many things I haven't told you.
Jeez. First he flexes on me with buying things, and now he's got Condra friends.
Hey, Amy flexed on me with having a family who loves her. So
she starts taking steroids, and Amy just starts flexing. Anyway,
they're for my eyes.
Those are eye drops.
Don't ruin a good story with reality.
Anyway,
no,
flexing.
But
That's right.
And in the last letter, the haunted man, my two faceless immortal companions and I, like, it's just talk about her flexing. It's just like, yeah, I'm traveling with just the fact he's called the haunted man.
Why
do
not?
Do you think it's the same guy, which some of us speculated might be Naj with the gun from her previous story?
It could be
the soul gun.
My thought is it's somebody who is possessed by Trell, based on what we read tonight, or not tonight, but for this episode.
But because the thing she just used his hell guns to launch himself to another outcropping.
Yeah.
Which sounds like something like more Alamanta Cube stuff, but
because there's an aluminum key.
Well, the thing is, Wax used to make himself super light and then use his guns to propel himself.
Yeah, but his guns aren't called hell guns.
Well, no, because he's the gentleman lawkeeper.
Yeah, no, he has vindication.
Mm-hmm.
His guns get capital letters. These hell guns are apparently so common they get lowercase.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
no. And then we learn about something called an ornithor, which looks if that thing in the bottom right is a picture of them, they look sort of like hummingbirds, kind of.
Yeah, like the name made me think of like prehistoric creatures that were like the giant terror birds, but that's probably not what it is if it flies. But that's where my brain immediately went, was like a terror bird.
I just looked up to see if there is such thing as an ornithor, and it's showing up as alien species print minis that are 3D printed. So
you don't think that's correct?
Probably not.
But no, that if you're watching the live stream, there's the picture of them. But yeah,
but it's
it looks almost like a narwhal.
Oh my goodness, narwhal hummingbirds.
What? Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell exactly what it is.
Headcanon, they exist.
I do love that there's one of the Condor who's like, no, I've got far more experience flying. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be in charge of it, kind of. But then
But he doesn't want to leave behind his collection of bones. Which is kind of a grisly thing when you think about it.
Yeah. But for them, it's like the only possession they can really...
It's essentially their clothes.
It's a suitcase.
It's their clothes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, just going through here, the aluminum bones we lifted from the Ornosaur quarry, I said, patting Tabar's giant backpack. The aluminum bones?
Well, the thing, we know that Kandra make sets of bones.
Yeah, like the glass ones and other stuff.
Talk about absolutely like walking around with like bling, because aluminum is as expensive as gold, but also like the reason it is because of how useful it is. So having aluminum bones,
to be fair, they work for Harmony. You know, he can
he can say, right there, you get it.
But it's very interesting because from a physical standpoint, those would be some of the worst bones you could possibly have. Aluminum is light, it bends and stuff. But from a Cosmere and investiture perspective, there's some very interesting, like there's a very interesting trade-off that's going on there that it made me really think of, would you want aluminum bones? And depending upon the situation, could be very good. Fighting someone who can, push on metal or is doing stuff, trying to cut through with a shard blade, really good. Fighting just a random brute or thug, not good at all. Don't want that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No,
and then of course there's an article about the Senate vote that we read about in the previous chapter.
Yeah, which gave us some interesting
visuals
details.
And on who the people are.
Yeah. So let's move on to chapter 3, though. So
I really hope Adathawin is not an important character because her name is a mouthful.
It's a Terrace.
I know.
Name,
their names are long.
Okay, so moving on to chapter 3, though, we've got Marcy and Wayne exploring the tunnels.
I just love them together. They're so fun.
It really is a fun pair.
Yeah, and it's great. Like she's going through it and being like, I actually do want to know more about that, and I wouldn't have wanted to know that 3 years ago, but now I really do want to know why you think that.
My favorite part is she's how misogynistic. Like, give me a scale. How many? Immediately they're like, just Marcy, true math nerd, thank you for being like 17. Why would you pick 17?
Why not 16? It was 16 she said too. I was expecting her to say like 10
because it's a base 16 society.
Yeah.
Yes, so
but I just love that concept because immediately she's no longer concerned about how offensive the joke is. It's how offensive his scale is. That's worse.
It's a prime number.
Yeah,
obviously.
So, who does this? What monster does this?
No, the question I have, because Wayne teases her a couple times, it's very subtle. What's going on between Marcy and Alec? Because
I think they're cozy.
Like, are they an actual item? Is it complicated? What's going on? Because he calls Alec your boyfriend. But this is Wayne. He could be saying anything. This could be the guy that you're sweet on or whatever. But
I think that they may not be an official couple, but I think there's some definite flirting going on, especially because she's like, well, they're making comments about men being hotter when they disrobe and
without their clothes. Yeah.
Yes. And then she's like, especially with, it's more of a mask that, where he's like, I think is it him who says the mask? Herself. Well, no, she says it out loud, doesn't she?
I think she thought that to herself.
Because I remember
it's like some more than others.
Oh, she may have.
And I think he brought up the mask.
He but it's like
she said it. She said it.
Okay.
Yeah, the mask is more of a thing. Yeah, that it's taking off the mask is more of a thing for their culture. That it's kind of letting you in more.
If I had to guess, I think it's a complication. And I think the complication is probably political in nature. Because if Alec's around and giving them things, I doubt the Malwish are cool with how cozy he is.
Yeah, because the Malwish like they're not full allies. They're not antagonistic yet, but there's still a lot of distrust. This is 6 years after the previous book, correct?
Yeah, and I mean, from seeing how the Senate has been dealing with the outer cities compared to even just another country, I don't know that they've been very nice politically.
Well, this is an arranged marriage in terms of politics, because no one's happy with what's going on, because both would prefer to just deal with not have to deal with each other. And it reminds me very much of what Chris says about Cell, that the planet's so big that everyone sort of, they acknowledge the other's kingdoms exist, but sort of want to pretend they don't. And this world has just shrunk a ton, and they suddenly need to deal with each other because they both have something the other one doesn't. But they'd much rather just figure out how to get it without meeting them. And then there's the whole bands of mourning issue that's doing that. So
nobody can agree over, and
well, and then let's not forget what the set did to those poor Malwish people. So there's still tensions there, because it's like, you can say they're a criminal element as much as you want. It's like, but it was still your people.
And you still haven't caught all of them and stopped them and turned them over to us for us to get justice, or whatever else the Malwish may want.
It'd be an issue.
It's interesting to see, because at this point, I believe this is like 12 years after Alloy of Law, which would put Wayne in his, like around 40.
Yeah, because I thought he was making comments in the previous chapters about that he's like
40 or 42, I think is what he would be at.
Somewhere around there.
And so it's it's interesting seeing, we have an older, I don't want to say more mature because that doesn't really apply to Wayne, but an older, somewhat wiser Wayne, but he's still very, very, very Wayne.
Yes, but I mean,
his age comes up.
Yeah, and Marasi does make comments, like even just to herself, about how he is learning to deal better with society and conform to rules and all these things. And he still has very much his own Wayne flavor to stuff. But when she asks him to be quiet here, not cause a problem this way, follow the form, do whatever else, he does it. And I'm sure it took a lot of arm twisting and persuasion before, but he's figured out how to be a Connor.
Well, and he's not doing it even grudgingly.
Yeah, he's just doing it.
He's doing it naturally at this point.
Well, I think it's because she's moved into the Wax role. She's the responsible detective.
And that's one thing that's really set it up very well, is like, now we're seeing them as a pair the way that Wax used to be. It's very interesting, because I just finished a reread of Alloy of Law, and it's really interesting seeing her filling that same role. Because she's a completely different person than she was 12 years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She was this shy, terrified student.
She was barely not a child at that point.
Well, she was also a scholar rather than a field worker,
and her self-esteem was probably way lower than it is
absolutely
now.
Because she was in a very rough family situation.
Yep. She was never good enough, and now she's accomplished at her job.
She's very confident. It's
and
cool.
she's good.
Well, and it shows just how Wax and Wayne have done a good job at helping her get over that as well, because like Wax and Wayne were the ones who encouraged her, use your rifle shooting, it's good, and
use your allomancy, because we can figure out how to use it,
and they did.
Well, and when she talked to Alec, and he said, that's one of the most useful abilities, and she's like, what? But they had the grenades, the cubes,
so they are super useful. Yeah.
But man, I don't know, wasting people's time is an incredible power. And we see, that's the thing I like about what we see here, is we see Marasi using her powers both with her normal use and with allomantic grenades.
Yeah.
And so we see that she has fully, integrated that into her personality.
And I mean, she makes comments to herself about how she wishes she was better at it and as good at it as Wayne is with his.
And that's an interesting thing. Like she talks about how good Wayne is getting with his. I've read a comment below. Somebody mentioned it's like, is Wayne becoming a savant? Because she also talks about how he had been using Bindaloy for very mundane things over and was running all the time, and now he's conserving. But it's just like, I can't say, because Brandon does want becoming a savant to have some major repercussions.
Yeah.
And it also wants it to be a rare thing. But I can absolutely see Wayne using his Bindaloy enough to become a savant, because not thinking about it and sort of like
it could just be he's just really practiced with power.
That's very true. But what I'm saying is, Spook, he came about becoming a savant through sheer just stubbornness and constant burning, and and through trauma almost. Yeah. Wayne, I can actually see becoming a savant through distraction and through basically ADHD types of thing, where it's just like, it's just something he reaches for because it's familiar and it's there, and so I'm just going to do it. I've come across that sort of issue myself, and so it's really interesting to see Wayne behave this way. I could see him kind of stumbling into that.
Yeah. I just from a meta perspective, I don't think it's savantism, because like you said, Brandon has said he feels like he leaned on that too much early on.
But it may not be, or it may not be yet. I can see it becoming something that he goes into.
I'd be very interested in what the downside would be, and I have a feeling with messing with time stuff, it'd be very bad.
Exactly, which is what, and I can see Brandon playing with that.
What if it means he becomes immortal, or functionally so?
Well, then he and Milan can be together again, and it's fine.
Yes,
because that was the reason that she thought she needed to break up with him,
or he thought that she thought that.
Or he, but no, because she told him, "I'm going to have to break up with you," and that was why.
Yeah.
The one thing that's interesting about them as a pair, as opposed to Wax and Wayne, is because of just how powerful Wax's two abilities are together, on top of his skill with them, and on top of what a crack shot he is with the pistol, they can sort of bumble about a lot more with Wax and Wayne there, as opposed to Marcy and Wayne, because Marcy's a great rifle shooter, but rifle shooters need to set up. You can't wing it as much, and when you can't just make a nice bubble around yourself at all times, well, you got to be a little more careful, which leads to their whole argument, like, no, we're going to do this properly. We're going to
go get reinforcements. We're not going to start a fight yet.
But she was also
sorry. I loved the part where Wade's like, what a shame. That poor Sod's got a great hand. 1 in a billion. And unfortunately, he's playing against his broke buddy on guard duty.
I mean, he's got a point.
Yeah. It's a waste
he's
of a good
definitely
hand.
got a point. And then, of course,
they run into a guard.
They run into a guard. He cries out, and everything happens. And Wayne gets all giddy because he gets to have his way.
My way it is. Oh man! But I mean, they hold their own.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they don't hold their own. They trounce them.
Yes.
And this is what's cool about it, is with Wax and Wayne. Let's go to another trouncing, the Lost Metal, the ballroom fight.
You mean Alloy of Law?
Or Alloy of Law, sorry. Alloy of Law, the ballroom fight, where they, like, it's the two of them, just showing off their skill, with Marcy picking a few people off with her rifle, helping out.
Yeah.
This is a much different thing, because, again, they have to be, Marcy has to be much more deliberate. And you see her prepping the cubes, and, they get her set up, and they're, okay. And as soon as she needs to move, lay some covering fire so she can move, get set up again. And it's very, very cleverly done.
They've been working together for a long time, so it makes sense that they can coordinate this way now.
Because I'm sure they had some scenes off screen where it did not go as well, and there was a little more fumbling, so they figured out how to do it well.
It's similar to the way that Wax and Wayne had been working together for a long time at the beginning of Alloy of Law. And it kind of demonstrated, okay, this is a fighting team that is very competent when they work together. And Brandon pulled the same thing here in a different situation, and it works.
Yeah.
And they're able to coordinate their abilities, and they have new tools. And it's kind of like the beginning of a new video game in a series where it's like, okay, we're going to let you show off a few of your new toys. And
well, and what I like is before with Wax and Wayne, their abilities didn't really go well together as far as like you can do interesting things with them.
Mm-hmm.
These two, because they have the conflicting bubbles, there are some very interesting things they can do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And just Wayne throwing up a bubble and then abducting people out of them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It reminds me of when I first played World of Warcraft, because I was playing back in early days, and I was trying to get into areas that I shouldn't have been. And so what I would do, because I played a hunter, is I would pull one enemy and lure them away from the group, and then blow everything on them, and then they go, and then I'd sneak in and pull one more, and so I could just very incrementally clear the way. And that's sort of what
Wayne's doing. Yeah.
Well, it's good. That's how you take on multiple people at a time. How do you do that? You don't.
One at a time.
Yep.
Like an elephant.
Yeah. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
I also like the fact that we learned the name of the lowest level, the cycle.
The cycle.
Yeah.
Well, not the lowest level, the lowest officer.
Yeah.
Which is what Miles was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which makes you wonder, like, who's above him if he was that.
Well, because we had a cycle, set, sequence, and we know there's suit was his name.
No, but a suit was also.
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah.
Suit is above a cycle.
Yeah. So suit, sequence, and we know there's something called an array. We don't know what they do though, but they're probably higher up.
Yeah.
Or some specialty thing.
Something, yeah.
We find out that the final shard is just math. You just have to fight math.
Arithmetic.
Or perhaps logic.
So there was that was a pet theory I had.
Logic, I think, was the one you said.
Was logic one of the new ones?
No, that was the one that you said. Like, proposed.
It's just everything being so math based is interesting because it feels like that's important for some reason. But yeah, I don't know why it's done all math based. There's a reason for it, but not sure why.
Yeah. But anyway, so Marasi and Wayne split up. They because she takes off after the cycle. But then we jump back to Wayne to Wax, and Max is freaking adorable.
He's so cute. Oh my goodness. And there's Hoyt as the driver. Hoyt is the driver.
Yes. And Wayne is the best uncle of all time.
I love that it's literally Uncle Wayne. That literally what we were discussing last time. Like, you think he's doing it? And he's literally Uncle Wayne.
He is teaching him all the wrong lessons in all the right ways.
How to talk like Wayne in front of. He's like, make sure you do it in front of all them. The
don't tell your dad, because then he'll think you're a genius. And it's just like, no, he just doesn't want him to know that you taught him this.
Yeah.
And then just the fact that Max smarts off to them right as they launch off and fly away is just, sorry, I didn't mean to push past Hoyt, because that is something we're talking about. But I just wanted to get through. Max first.
They're all really fun. Like the fact that it's just like, boop, it's just Hoyt. Like I had to read that twice because I was like, wait, what? Did I read that right? Okay, it is Hoyt.
The thing that was interesting is the way that they described him. It was like he is not just a cab driver or something. It sounds like he's like their standard driver, their regular driver.
And I think
he's been hanging with them.
And I think especially from what I remember of like how this time period was kind of in Europe and the US and things like that, you usually had your own personal driver.
Yeah, your chauffeur.
And so that's chauffeur. That's probably the right word. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of how I picture it working, is that there are cabbies or the equivalent running around, but there's usually you have your driver if you are rich enough, and if you're a senator and you're Wax, you probably are rich enough.
Well, so there's a couple interesting things there. One, we've kind of skipped over a big thing where in the office there was a package left for Wax with an earring.
Yes, there was.
And we had an interesting conversation between Steris and Wax because they're in interesting positions as far one religiously, which Wax comments on, but also just
the situation in two ways.
Yeah,
in two ways, because they were followers of different religions, and at this point, Wax is kind of disenfranchised from the one that he was a part of, while she is still devout as a survivorist.
Yeah.
But then she's also got the weird twist of you've talked to Harmony, so that kind of throws some kinks in my
in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Well, it's like their religion, the survivalist religion, is interesting because they know Sazed has the powers of Harmony.
Yes, they think of him as a secondary.
Yeah, like it's just
the most important.
Well, it's another like they're similar. It's like.
There's always
I don't want to delve too much into actual religion, but like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all
the Abrahamic religions.
They are the Abrahamic religions. They are different offshoots of a root religion that goes farther back.
Yeah, it's just interesting because this is essentially a polytheistic religion, and they know a lot. That like they know things for certain in a way that our religions can't, because literally like their God wrote it down for them 300 years ago and said, so yeah, that whole thing that just happened, this is all what I did, this is what went on, this is and just let them know everything.
Except that 300 years later, people are just like, did that really happen? Was this some crackpot who came out after the
yeah,
it doesn't seem that's how it is in their society right now.
Not directly, but
I think there's going to be the whole gamut of people
years.
who think it's crackpot, and other people who believe it.
Well, give it time.
Absolutely.
But it's just it's an interesting spot to be in because they, for a fact, know certain things happened. Because
that's the thing. I think they actually even had a discussion or several on writing excuses, where there's the question of, so in these fantasy stories where, typically there are actually more direct, clear confirmations that this religion is accurate.
Or has power. I come back to that Dara O'Brien episode where he was LARPing with what was it, Crowd or whatever it was called?
Yeah, where he picked his LARP character's name was Morgan Fairchild.
Yeah. But the funnier part was he was playing an atheist in a world where people literally call on the power of the heavens. And when he shows up and he says that, everyone else is, who is in character, because it's a LARP, they're like, that's a bit of an outlier. They don't know what to do with it.
No, it was really interesting.
But no, yes. So it was interesting that Wax, he doesn't take the earring, because even though he and Harmony did have their walk,
he puts it in his pocket. He doesn't leave it there.
No,
but he doesn't. Yeah.
Essentially, he let God go to voicemail.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
What was it he said? Not today, Harmony. He thought, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's already dealt with
he's screening his calls.
He got the loss of the Senate.
That was what I was thinking about. That was interesting. So he gets that. Wax would be very, and we've already seen it in Bands of Mourning. He's very spiky with Khandra because they're Harmony's eyes and ears. I didn't think about that, but dang, that's good.
And then there's the whole Lessie everything.
Yeah. And so he's very spiky about the I'm gonna stick with that. I like it because we gotta stick with spiky.
Spiky.
About the Khandra, who's with him? Hoyd is his driver. We know Hoyd has been in contact with Harmony. I'm wondering if Hoyd is acting as Harmony's eyes on Wax because
he's not
Wax would be looking for Khandra.
That's possible.
And we know Hoyd has already been watching him because who's the one who gave him the coin in Bands of Mourning?
Yeah.
We also know that Hoyd has very few, if any, loyalties. So
yeah.
Yep.
You never know. Like, his loyalty is to his cause.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say like, oh, he's acting as like Harmony's agent, but he might be working as Harmony's
right. But what I'm saying is,
agent.
he could be working, like, yes, he has been friendly towards Wax, but he holds no loyalty to him necessarily.
Yeah. My guess is that he'll help out Harmony because right now their goals align for whatever reason that is.
Yep.
But as soon as they don't, Hoyt has no issue cutting and running.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Marasi and her fight against the cycle.
Oh man, he's brutal. I did like that she's really smart and that she doesn't just rush and chase, whereas that would totally be my gut instinct, is to just, well, I gotta go catch up to him because they're gonna get away. But her instinct saves her because he's like waiting before the bridge, waiting for her to like run across the bridge so he can get her from behind.
And he notices when she sees him and immediately reacts. I did feel kind of proud of myself because the minute she said, mentioned something about how he didn't seem like he was acting as if he wasn't practiced with his powers, just like hemalurgy.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I don't know where he got those powers, but I don't think they were his.
A lot of spikes.
He had 4 spikes, which is, well, because 2 is what's necessary for Harmony to
but the Trellium spike somehow
negates it somehow. It must,
but
because that was the same. It's the same thing that that Ed Warren had, because he had the 3 normal spikes and the Trellium spike.
But that's what I'm saying is, with the Trellium spike, it makes you very, very influenceable. I think the 4 spikes, you're very influenceable. I think the Trellium spike just changes who can influence you.
It just changes the.
I don't know that that's necessarily what its ability does, but I think it does that in addition to anything else it might do.
Yeah. Well, because there's been a lot of discussion of Kandra world hopping because they know hemalurgy opens you up, and so there's the question of, could someone like, say, an Odium just take control of a Kandra if they were away from Harmony's influence? And so wouldn't that be dangerous for them to go world hopping? But no, that's not something that Brandon's talked about too much, so we don't know.
And I mean, it seems like there's a few of them that have gone around that we know of.
Yeah.
Not that we know names, but
my guess is that the reason it opens them up to Harmony is because Harmony's part Ruin and the powers of Ruin. But like Bill said, Trellium is sort of inserting him, or Trell is sort of inserting himself with the Trellium.
Does that mean that a Racium spike or Racium dagger could possibly open someone up to that?
It's at least theoretically possible.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It'd be sort of like shorting the circuit. You're bypassing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this fight is really interesting. Like, Marasi is very clever with the way she responds, particularly with the grenade. Where
I was very proud. I called her jumping the chasm with.
I was like, she's gonna have to jump across.
Yeah,
that's what I figured too. I was like, she's gonna have to get across because
I completely missed that.
That was the one that I was like, oh, at some point she's gonna do it. Now I had the reverse. I thought she was gonna put down her metal part and then hold the cube against her to push away from it, but instead she put the cube down, held the metal part to her, so
it pushed her away.
Yeah. Well, so that's a question I have about allomantic grenades. Do they push with the weight of the grenade, or do they push with the weight of who charged it?
I think it's the weight of the charge, because she talks about how the charge fades and that it can do time. And I'm figuring if the time is reduced, then probably the force gets reduced with it.
It'd be interesting to see if it was the person who charged it, because that means that Wax could tap weight and then
that's why I anticipate probably isn't allowed, because that feels too easy. And which, don't get me wrong, as soon as we start combining these charger cubes and get to the space age stuff, we're going to start doing weird crap.
We're breaking reality at that point.
So yeah, but part of me thinks Brandon might make it so that it's the cube's weight for now, because I don't want to think of what it is otherwise.
Because it breaks things otherwise.
Oh, he's set himself up to do a lot more math than he's probably comfortable with. But he has friends who do math for him.
Yeah, it can't just be the cube's weight for now, because she pushed herself
with that. Yeah.
With it.
Yeah, but it was but she jammed it into the ground.
That's true.
Mm.
And so
it's forgotten about
that. From what I read, 'cause I was looking for it, I couldn't quite tell. But it seems to me that if it was Wax's weight, she wouldn't have been able to hold on to it when it like pushed guns and stuff out.
I mean,
that's
just sure we'll see more cubes
because we know she's small. Like
right,
they mentioned that, and Wax is considered huge for.
But like the strength of it isn't entirely, how. Like, is it if he's flaring his steel, or is it like, who knows?
Yeah, there's all sorts of really cool, interesting mechanical
it's just
questions.
All stored up. Like
we know it's enough to knock both their guns out of their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is convenient.
But I mean, with the guns, at least it could be that it's more just the suddenness of it, and if you angle it right, then if you like hit the tip, that would be much more likely to knock it out of your hand than if you're just pushing straight at your hand otherwise. But I don't know.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting is just his combination of powers. Like, it's interesting that he goes for strength, for
hulking up, basically.
Yeah, he went for ferrochemical strength. And,
it's a brawler combo, is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and
although what was his fourth spike? Because one was strength, one was healing, one was Trellium. What's the fourth?
Because he had healing.
Maybe he had double healing because he healed from a headshot. Yeah.
See, and I'm wondering if that wasn't because of the Trellium, because he was kind of like possessed by Trell, and
Oh.
Like,
I mean, I'm sure in later chapters they will examine the spikes, and they may not comment on it
because it was when she pulled out the Trellium spike that he died.
Gave up. I don't know.
But yeah, trying to find it, my guess would be double blood maker, just because of the healing from a blood wound.
Except that, again, pulling the Trellium spike out wouldn't have killed him. I think it was tied to the Trellium spike, because she pulled that out, and that's when the light faded and he died. She checked.
That was right through the heart, though.
Oh, because
but again, if he's a healer, you can heal that.
The other thing is, I think, because he was still healing head wounds. The other thing to remember is there is also the Steel Inquisitors had the linchpin spike that I think was in the same area, wasn't it? Wasn't it through the sternum?
No, it was through the spine.
Was it through the spine? Okay,
it was through the upper spine.
Yeah, I think it was through the spine. Yeah, that sounds about right.
But it could also just like it's one of those we don't know enough, but both are possible.
I personally think it was due to the Trellium spike. That's how he was able to heal, because the Bloodmaker, she said, the face shot should have been able to kill him.
It's also possible, like, you can get shot in the face and still live as a Bloodmaker if it doesn't hit the right straight through the brain, because there's people who have been shot in the head here who survived.
Right. We've seen Miles 100 lives live through all sorts of stuff, but again,
he's a compounder.
Right, but I thought that's what you meant by double healing.
Oh no, I mean, like, he had 2 Bloodmaker spikes. That was a thing that they did with the Steel Inquisitors.
Was it?
Yeah, they had they had 2. I think it was Bloodmaker spikes. I think probably to offset the fact that their healing isn't as efficient.
I don't know.
The other thing I forgot about this. She stabs him with a glass dagger.
Yes, it's classic.
It's a classic.
It is a classic.
Yeah. And we know that she admires the Ascendant Warrior. So.
Oh yeah. So yeah, channel that. Well, and it's great.
And if you're carrying around an Elementic grenade that pushes everything away, why wouldn't you go in with? Yeah.
Yep.
Just one of those things. It's just another one. It's like, I love these callbacks.
It's nice.
Okay. Now let's go back to one of the most adorable scenes.
Yes.
Because we've got Wax and Max. Because Maxillian, naming your kid something that rhymes with your name is a little bit ridiculous, but it's just so freaking adorable in this situation that I will let it slide.
Aww.
I love
they take him up to like way up to the top of the roof, and like his kids like throwing down these seeds, these little like whirly
he threw the helicopter seeds. Yes. I loved those when I was a kid.
We have on one of my walks, they have those trees, and during the fall I always pick them up and still throw them up.
Yeah, I think my trees in my backyard have some of
those. I think sycamore, isn't that what it is?
No, I think they're maple.
Winged seeds.
I don't know. Impossible.
There's probably
to find
several
out.
Kinds of trees.
There's a few of them, but
before they go up though, I love the moment where he's like because he's picking up that things didn't go well. Because
they're maple mostly, or elm.
Kids are more observant than we give them credit for sometimes, and so he figures the vibe. And he's like, "Do you know what makes me feel better when I'm sad?" And he's like, hugging Tenny, which I love. The fact is, but he's met Tensoon. I would love like him like playing with Tensoon with the kid, and then also he looks at Tensoon's there just shaking his head, just this, "You're dead to me."
No, I would love Tensoon showing up. He's playing, and the kid looks up and sees him, and he's just like, looks down, looks up. It's like you have a kid who has a stuffed Mickey Mouse, and you take him to Disneyland, and Mickey's standing there, and they're just like,
"What?
This does not compute. This Mickey's here, but he's big, and he's there."
This does not make sense. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, that and
but no, I like that line. I was like, "Oh, the kid's totally gonna pull the whole like, you should do the cool thing for me, Dad." I was like, "Yeah, that's I've witnessed that personally in my house."
This is the old school Scadrial version of a kid saying, "Can I play with your phone?" except this is a much more interactive and, in my opinion, healthy.
It almost feels like the kids, like where their dad has like a cool car, or their mom or whoever, and they're like, "Hey, we should go for a ride because it would be so much fun. Just go do it." And so,
we should drive by my friend's house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there's a good view over by his house.
Yeah.
We should go look at it.
I gotta read the last line of chapter 5, last 2. Just don't none of you get jealous or nothing, Max shouted. He can give you a ride for cheap if you ask real nice and stop being a pile of bad turds. Which calls back to his prologue chapter.
Yeah.
These bad turds. And it's, maybe Wax should have a little talk with Wayne.
And I'm just like, Wayne is the right kind of uncle.
Yes.
Wayne is the exact uncle that we knew he would be.
Mm-hmm. And it's adorable.
And as a designated favorite uncle, I can say this definitively.
A funkle, if you will.
I have a shirt that even says that.
Nice.
Defines it and everything. It says, like a dad, but cooler. But yeah, the fact that they're playing like this, I love the game that they've come up with. This
it's a little like ball
game.
Thing, yeah.
He's like, throw it there, and he shoots it over, and then they go chase it. I'm just like, this is so wholesome in all the best ways. I love it.
And Wax, I can't remember, has like a line where he's like, "I'm happy. Mm-hmm. I could be happy with this. This is okay." And
it's not just I could be happy with this. It's like I don't miss it anymore.
Well,
like I can see how it was great.
I finally stopped mourning.
He finally stopped mourning because Leslie defined everything that he was since he came back to Ellendale.
Yeah.
Well, so what I remember, because obviously going through the reread, when he's taking his walk with Harmony, and he holds it, he's like, you have a choice, and he's like, "Do you give this choice to everyone?" And he's like, "I give everyone a choice, but it's different for each person." And he's in this hand is it's the like moving on, the thing that Kelsier never does, and he and he's like, "Oh my goodness, this sounds effulgent." But then the other one, he starts to hear Maricy's voice trying to get him to use the bands of mourning, and he's like, he's like, that hand is, he's like, that one's freedom, that one's duty. He's like, it's not duty, but that's how you've always interpreted it. This is merely a different type of adventure. You now come here with this scene. It feels to me like the answer to that, where he suddenly realizes this is the other adventure I've finally gone on.
It's like the end of Hook, because there's a classic line from the book Peter Pan where he says, "To die will be an awfully big adventure." When Hook is about to kill him, he's like, "Death is the only adventure you have left," is what shows up in Hook. And at the very end, he says, "No, to live will be an awfully good, grand adventure." And it's the same sort of concept of, no, there are other adventures completely different from what I've experienced.
Done before, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just he's now completely moved on. He no longer regrets leaving the Roughs. He now views Ellendale as his city, you know, duties and all.
Well, he hated Ellendale when he came home. It's the kind of, you know, there are a lot of people who talk about how, you know, they're in a rough situation in life and they have to move back in with their parents for a while, but so that they can, you know, get things sort of back in order. And it's rough. And that's kind of the same thing. He came back to Ellendale a broken man and hating that he had to come back to this place that he left to break out on his own.
And he's doing drudgery at the beginning where he just doesn't want these responsibilities. I mean, he wants to do them because he knows it's the right thing to do, but it's not what he feels comfortable with at all.
No, now he's claimed it. This is his.
Yes.
And, you know, he has Steris and Max and the people of his house that he cares for, and, you know, his vote on the Senate. He cares for the city. He cares for the Roughs. He's basically stepped into another level beyond what he thought he was, you know, what he was doing.
That was another thing that was interesting when he left the chambers of the senatorial building, where he's, you know, and he's down and a little morose and a little
Steris
bitter.
is imagining different ways that it could be destroyed by a fluke accident.
Yeah.
But his whole thing where he realizes, like, he has that moment because he's like, politicians. And he's like, remember, it only barely passed. A lot of them voted with you. And there's a lot of them that voted on the other side that are just scared of this thing, that thing, that thing.
They wanted more time. They wanted more proof. They wanted.
Yeah.
They're not all horrible people.
They're scared or they're weak. That doesn't mean that they're bad or evil.
And that's one of those, that's another level of him in his progression.
His empathy. Yeah.
Because he had utter disdain for politicians.
But it's also, you know, because his foil in Alloy of Law was Miles' 100 Lives. That's what differentiated them. Because Miles, he thought, you know, burn it all to the ground. These are evil people who need to be purged. And Wax is just like, it's not as simple as that.
It's not black and white. It's got lots of gray.
It was like, this isn't the time of the Lord Ruler. You can't just, you know, kill someone. It is better. Yeah. And that's the problem with progress, is it's a slow, grinding march. And for a lot of people, it's just too slow. And it's very difficult to have patience on the scale of generations. Because that is what societal progress is. It's strangely, it's a line from Suit, of all people. And he's thinking of all the grand plans he had, and he now has the Malwish ship, and he says, you know, he's proud of his plans, and he was definitely setting up the set to be able to rule, you know, within the next century. And he's like, but it would be great if they could rule in his lifetime.
He could benefit from it.
Yeah. But what's the phrase? And it's like, planting a tree whose shade you'll never rest in, or something like that. And that's the hard part of society, is you have to have a very long time scale. And that's just not how, as humans, we think.
And a sense of altruism.
Yeah.
Speaking of altruism, Alstrom Tower. It's a very tepid segue. Just another name drop of the Alstrom 3, who are his editors.
Yes.
And I just saw that. I'm like, hey, I went to their panel.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was a really good panel. If they do it again and you're going to Dragonsteel Minicon, you should definitely check out the editors panel. It was a really good one. It was very interesting.
Yep. All right. So, chapter 8, we have sort of the denouement of all of this combat that's been going on. I love that Marcy comes back and she finds Wayne sitting with this group of
15
bandits or whatever tied up,
people.
and he's playing cards with them.
And all their hands are up, and they're like, "Well, why? Or is it her that's asking, or is it one of them that's like, why are you playing with?" And they're like, "Why are we playing if you can see our hands?"
Because he tried to bluff, and he's like, "Are you sure you want to play that?" And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Are you really sure?" And he was looking at his hand. It's like,
I found
you don't want to. And
gotta pretend I can't see your cards, friend. Otherwise, where's the sport in it? Cheating's one thing, but if I can just see where you're going to do, then might as well be playing with myself. And then he makes another very dirty joke that's very in traditional Wayne.
Very Wayne.
I just love it. But the thing is, it's actually kind of brilliant because what's the thing he's trying to do? He's trying to buy time because he knows eventually they'll get free.
Right. So he could always tie them up with shoelaces.
Yeah. Why not distract them?
Because remember, he had rope with them, but he had to leave it behind when they climbed down into the...
Yeah.
For them to get their way out, yeah.
But it makes perfect sense that he's like, okay, it's the very Wayne solution. I'm going to distract them with a card game. And then they do the same. Marcy does the same thing, but she's going to distract them with legalese.
With a lecture.
Yep.
Letting them know what rights they do and do not have. What did they call it? Operation Instant Backup or something like that?
Instant backup. Not just operation, but just instant backup.
That's my XCOM plane trying to sneak in there. But I love it because it's another hint of these, like she has stepped into the wax roll. They have different moves that now have nicknames.
Their little names and
what was it?
Yeah.
Rotten Tomato or
Rotten Tomato or
Squish Tomato?
Squish Tomato.
It was
something tomato. It brought to mind something gushy.
I just love that it's like Splat. I hate Squish Tomato.
I hate that one.
Squash Tomato?
I don't know.
It makes me think of in Ragnarok with Thor and Loki. It's like the get help, but I'm not doing get help. No, it never works.
They're very similar.
Yes.
Well, but everyone has friends like that, right? You have friends that you've been with for years that you can just say 2 or 3 words and they know everything of what you're trying to refer to.
Yeah.
That's like there's a moment that keeps coming up between me and my friend Dylan, who I do my other podcast with. Because there was one time we were sitting on the couch in our old apartment, and there were a couple of friends. One of them he actually is the woman he actually ended up marrying, and the other was another friend. And we were talking, and somebody said something. He's like, "Oh yeah, like 3," and the other person completely got it. He's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." And the 2 girls just looked at us just like we were crazy, and we just looked. It was a Star Trek episode, and it was just like. But
there's a reference.
You'll have those friends who you just need, like you said, a word or two, and you click and you get it and you understand exactly what's going on.
Shared experiences.
I do want to talk a little bit more about Wayne's progress, because his hand still shakes a little bit when he holds a gun, but it's not the way it's not. He's not so crippled as he was before the end of Bands of Mourning.
Did he actually shoot people, or was he just shooting?
He was just shooting up in the air.
Yeah.
So I don't know that he's targeting people.
Yeah, but
he didn't used to be able to even hold a gun.
The only person we've seen him actually shoot was Wax's sister.
Or was it a sister?
Yeah.
It was a sister.
Yeah, because that was the whole. She was trying to.
Telson? Is that her?
Telson. That's what it was. I was blanking on her name. That was the whole.
About that.
Wait, you can't hold guns. Yeah, about that.
Then, it's like.
But. Like that's the thing. Again, we're seeing growth from Wayne.
Well,
because it's
even though trauma.
Even though it's 6 years later, it's not entirely gone, but it's better than it was, and it continues to get better.
Well, he's finally starting to forgive himself. Like not like because it's one of those what he did he can never make good on, but. At a certain point, you got to be able to forgive yourself to be able to move on in life.
And I think at that time, the daughter probably is out of school, so he may not be in as much contact with her, So
he's not
that
paying
may
for
also So it may help.
Well, I mean, he's
in
still
his
probably
recovery.
sending money, but she might not be
Yes.
there to physically give the
Mhm.
money.
But it wouldn't be the face to face, so it wouldn't be bringing up that trauma over every single time for him.
Or maybe he is, like, for all
Yeah,
we
well,
know.
that's
don't
the
know.
thing is because that wasn't something that he had to do. That was something he put himself through.
Yes.
Where he's like, I have to go see her. This is his quest, as he called it.
Mm.
No, it's well. The other thing is also you have the I forget her name, the girl who he was impersonating the professor that had ruined her father's life, and that she's like this inventor.
The inventor?
Girl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the inventor girl.
And because Bands of Morning ends with or not Bands of Morning, Shadows of Self ends with him being like, hey, you're that inventor girl, the guy who invented the incandescent bulb or whatever. And he then started to like fund her projects.
That's right, because we had a play on Tesla and Edison.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Forgot about that.
But it was the fact that he was rich, but doesn't live like he's rich because he's Wayne, because he still had all the reward money left over from catching Miles. And so I think it's one of those things where Wayne is like part of his process of trying to heal through this is going to be helping others. And,
doing good.
I mean, he's always been like that, but taking a more active role in that.
More active altruism, yeah.
Because he's very personable, and he's like, we see him even before that. He's always trying to help people, but this is the next level up. This is going out of your way to help people who aren't like you, because he's always helped like those kids who are the street urchins.
But he's also been somebody who's able to put himself in the mind of someone else. We've gotten several chapters from his perspective where you see his thought process, and he is actually seeing himself as that person.
Yeah.
Heaven help us if he ever becomes a Lightbringer.
A Light Weaver?
Light Weaver, not Bringer. That's a different thing.
That's a completely different thing.
No, then we had that weird face. The person who showed up while Marcy
the ninja.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, part of me wonders, is that Telson? But it's probably not. But that's
that wouldn't. I doubt it was Telson, but I'm wondering, because if you did y'all read the blurb at the beginning? I suspect it's a Khandra
or an Offworlder.
No, just because.
The summary blurb thing.
If you read the summary blurb at the beginning.
Yeah.
Let me see.
And I mean, Trell also wants to get a hold of Marasi too. So, is it part of the set or Trell's
or is it the part of that other group from
the Offworlders?
The Offworlders.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, here's the line. That gave Marcy just enough time, an eye blink really, to pick out a female figure in dark clothing, a black cloth mask over her face, not like the Malwish mask, more like one a thief might use, prowling in the night. She was slender with straight black hair. Her eyes seemed to meet Marcy's, then she became a blur again. So, Telson does have black hair.
That was just my gut instinct.
Yeah.
Is it
Telson? But it could literally be anyone, any female with black hair. Now, the thing is, there's all sorts,
including one we've never met.
Yeah, could be. But Chris has black hair.
But I almost feel like, would she have commented on the skin?
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Like if it was Chris, because Chris, they always say, oh, she has what is it? They always say terrace features, because that's what they associate with it, and sort of like if you ever see someone who's
Makabaki.
Makabaki, or someone who's short in among the Alethi, it's like, oh, that might be a Scadrian,
right?
Yeah,
or has round shin eyes.
Yeah, shin eyes.
Yeah.
But the line I'm talking about from the summary blurb at the very beginning, it says, after Wax discovers a new type of explosive that can unleash unprecedented destruction and realizes the set must already have it, an immortal Khandra serving Scadrial's god Harmony reveals that Bilming has fallen under the influence of another god, Trell, worshipped by the set.
Yeah.
It could be.
So, this could be the Khandra that's working for Harmony, or this could be one of the Offworlders who's going to try and recruit Marasi.
And for all we know,
they
may be in the same group.
Mm-hmm.
The Mystery Woman and the Condor, or the Condor is the same. Anyway, we don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be someone from Roshar, but if it was from Roshar, I would assume she would have commented on the height.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
only Alethi are tall.
Yeah, but
and I mean,
they tend to be the ones with darker hair, though.
I mean, there's others that can have darker hair.
The Reshi people have darker hair.
The Thalens can have darker hair. All of them can have darker hair.
If it's the Thalens, you would
definitely notice the eyebrows. And I don't see them cutting those. That's like, you don't do that.
Maybe you would.
I don't know. Like if you're a ninja, you make sacrifices.
Yeah, that's true.
No, but the other thing that we have seen on this world before, we've definitely seen people from oh my goodness, Shadows for Silence. What's that world?
Trinity.
That's
yes.
it. Yeah, we've already seen Threnodites on this world before, because that's where Naj was.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's all sorts of very interesting possibilities. And so it's just one of those, you see it, you're just like, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? I want it to be someone we know, but probably isn't, but I really want it. And then there's also just the possibility it could be Vivina, who can change her hair at will. So,
or again, it could be anyone, like it's somebody that we've never met before.
Yes, but that's not as fun. It has to be someone we know. Everyone in the Cosmere knows everyone.
You're from that planet. You know somebody there, right?
Actually, I do.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's going to be like, wait, I know his coach driver. How do you know his coach driver?
Coach driver? What?
Everyone knows his coach driver. He gets around. That's not what I meant.
We see you, Hoyd. We understand. You're poking your head in. Yes, he showed up already.
It made me happy.
Yep. Okay, well, let's move on. We actually do have an email from one of our listeners to discuss, and they presented a theory. I just kind of want to get your thoughts on it,
email,
unprepped for it. So one listener wrote in with a theory. This is from Misko M. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, but they say, "Hello, I have a mad theory. You know the story Hoyd told Kaladin? I think Cosmere is Fleet. I mean, he tried to race the storm he provoked, and even after dying, he didn't tire and continued to run. And this makes sense as Words of Radiance goes on after Era 1 of Mistborn. So Hoyd would know Cosmere's story. Kaladin might know it because of Hoyd's perfect pitch and emotional allomancy, which is why Kaladin was able to tell it, influencing him. This makes me happy to think about because I love both Kaladin and Cosmere. Love the podcast. Thank you."
Yeah, there was a lot of use in that. That's one I hadn't considered.
I mean, it could work.
So my initial response is to say probably not, but Hoyd is the type of person to combine stories into one, and the story has many interpretations and take it upon, so maybe I can picture you presenting this theory to Brandon and him saying, well, he would probably say Raffo, but him saying, that's a possible interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that makes me doubt it a little bit is that I don't know how Hoyd feels about Cosmere.
Oh,
since they are not the best of buds. So
I don't know that we don't know that they're unfriendly.
I mean, I guess he got his punch out, and then
and I'm willing to bet Hoyd has a special place in his heart for Cosmere because it was the first time he got to harm someone in a very long time.
Here's the thing:
get some rage out.
Hoyd, there are people that Hoyd doesn't like, but that doesn't mean he holds a grudge to the point where he can't recognize or take some value out of something that they've done.
That's
so
true.
Even if Hoyd absolutely despised Kaladin or Cosmere, I can still picture him telling this story, being inspired by a story and using it for his own means. Again, my personal reaction is I don't think that's what Brandon meant when he wrote it. I don't think it's a too out there interpretation, though.
No.
I mean, I could definitely see how those dots can connect that way. I'd be like,
I
could see that.
I was very skeptical, like no, until the whole, running after you died. I'm like, oh, that is sort of his shtick.
Except that, Fleet didn't run after he died. He ran so far until he just dropped dead.
I thought Spirit kept racing.
Did it? I don't remember that.
Oh, Coppermind, come and save us.
Save us, Coppermind.
I'm fairly certain he ran, and then at the it was very reminiscent of the story of Marathon.
No, he ran after he died.
Huh, I missed that.
There we
so
go.
Extreme that he died in order to win the race, and even then his spirit left his body in order to continue down the western shores of Shinovar.
I completely forgot that.
It's been a minute. I
completely forgot that. Okay, then you know what? That's actually not a bad...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
theory. It's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting about it, just as far as a comparison, is that when Hoyd tells the story, Fleet's description is very similar to Kaladin himself, because he says he was tall with long hair that ran down to his waist, which is similar to Kaladin at that point, because Kaladin...
Was his hair that long?
Oh, yeah.
Not down to his waist.
That's long.
It was when he was
not down to his waist.
It was like that long when he was a slave, like because he
couldn't have grown it out that long over the time he was a slave. Hair doesn't grow that quickly.
I would think shoulder blades maybe, but probably not, because I've grown my hair that long twice. It takes a while.
It takes years.
So, and I don't remember it being that long of hair, but I
remember him saying it was really long, but maybe that's just
it is really long for what people typically have their hair.
Because I mean, my hair is mid back, and this is it in pigtails, so it's long.
Down to your waist.
That's long.
That's going to take years and years. But it still does fit Kaladin. It also kind of fits Lift, but because she does have very long hair.
Yeah,
like she's described as having very long hair.
Yeah.
Well, it's all the better when you can make yourself slick, so nothing gets stuck in your hair.
Yeah,
and on top of it, it's hilarious to think of that when she's sliding around everywhere and she has this trail behind her.
Oh, my daughter would love that ability. She hates brushing her hair.
But yeah, that if you could do that, you really would only need to run a comb through your hair once, and it'd be fine.
And you're good.
No tangles.
No tangles.
Edge dancer, because you're worth it.
Wow. Anyway, thank you, Miesco, for writing in. We love that. For our other listeners, we love hearing from you. So please keep sending in questions. You can ask us about the Cosmere. You can drop us your theories, give us ideas that you would like to have us discuss during the show. And while you're at it, we would please love to hear what you think of the show. We'd love a review on iTunes or on Spotify or wherever. I don't know if Spotify does reviews, but wherever you can leave a review, or if you just want to send us an email and let us know. We love feedback, and that can help us to figure out what's working.
If they don't do reviews, don't hack Spotify to figure out how to let you do reviews.
Please don't do that.
No vandalism, please. Or hacking.
We do not condone any form of hacking. But yeah, just drop us your theories about what you think is going on in the greater Cosmere as well. Any questions or suggestions you have, just send those to us in a brief, concise email at cosmerestudies@gmail.com, and hopefully we could read that as part of the show. You can also write us at the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, P.O. Box 970063, Orem, Utah 84097. We do have our own projects outside of the podcast. So, Jordan, why don't you lead us off? Tell us what you've been up to and where we can find your stuff.
As stated at the beginning of the episode, a lot of editing has been going on. If you would like to watch some fun videos about people fighting children's toys, you're going to want to go to my YouTube page, youtube.com/splicestream. I'm going to be having some videos come out of people trying to conquer the Amiibo Raid Boss Tower, where
I thought for a brief second, I thought you were talking about a dark version of Toy Story.
I mean,
or Chucky or something.
To a certain point, but
Chucky is a dark version of Toy Story.
Oh man,
I am excited because the Steve amiibo from Minecraft dropped a couple weeks ago. We're finally getting into our Steve testing, and Steve in Smash is really weird because everyone else is playing Smash Brothers, but Steve is somehow still playing Minecraft, and it's weird.
Because Steve,
and he's animated exactly like the Minecraft character. It is so weird to see him in Smash. He's been there for months at this point, and I'm still not used to it.
Yeah. All right. Well, Amy, what have you got going on, and where can we find your stuff?
So my Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is @CoincidenceCosp because my name is too long. My Instagram is @coincidence_cosplay, and my TikTok is @CoincidenceCosplay, all one long word. And I finally have my website back up. It was down for a couple days because I didn't want to keep paying my old hosting site. So it is very sad. If you happen to know much about WordPress, please send me tutorials because it looks sad right now. But I have a website again, so yay.
Yay.
Yeah, I have been still terrible about posting, but I'd like to do better. So if there are things you want to see, then let me know. Yeah, so I'm probably going to try and get a photo shoot of my Nazgul next month. I am getting Marasi ready for Dragonsteel, and I made some dice for people, so that's cool. And
am I going to get to be a salesman again?
I'm not going to have very many, but I'm going to try to have some. So if you do want to buy dice from me, your best bet is probably going to be the first day. I don't know how many I will have.
No, Jordan, she needs those to get books.
I don't look. I just want to know. Am I going to get my plaque for Coincidence Cosplay Employee of the Month for last year? I never got that.
I can make you one if you want. I have a vinyl cutter. I can do that.
I won't say no.
Oh boy.
So there we go. Anyway, so yeah, I'm doing stuff, and if you guys have any ideas for things you want to be on our Cosmere Studies TikTok, because we have one now, it just has nothing on it, let me know, because I want to do the things that you want me to do, but my video editing skills are itty bitty, so keep that in mind. There we go.
Okay. As for myself, I've got another podcast with my friend Dylan. We talk about board games. It's called The Innkeeper's Table, and we have new episodes coming out every Friday morning. The most recent episode we had was a game spotlight on a game called Gizmos. I kind of love the concept behind this because it's an engine building game in which you're building engines.
Like trains?
Like gizmos, machines.
Oh, okay.
And so I was just like, I kind of love this. It's a very meta concept. And then the next episode that's coming out this week is we did another top 3 list where we talked about our top 3 dice games. So games where dice are the main sort of a major thing. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I actually started it with the quote from The Wheel of Time. It's time to toss the dice, which is in the old tongue. So that was fun.
So Trouble was the best one of that then?
Get out. You're not welcome here. But anyway, for those of you who want to support the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, but you can't become patrons just yet, we'd love it if you would just let your friends know about the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, to like and subscribe over on youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. And if you could, again, toss us a good review wherever you listen to us, we would appreciate that too. And then, of course, you can head over to store.streamelements.com/Cosmere Studies to buy SICS merchandise. SICS, SICS, Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies merch. Hats and shirts and blankets and phone cases and all sorts of other lovely stuff. So if you can do that, that would be awesome as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, guys, final thoughts. Oh, first, Texas Blade in chat asked if the game I was talking about is the one with colored marbles in the hopper. Yes, it is. There are a lot of colored, I think they're acrylic marbles. And yes, it's not like there's that one and there's Potion Explosion, both of which use marbles. This is one of those. So yeah. But final thoughts on what we discussed tonight.
I love Max and Wax, and I love Marasi and Wayne, and it's awesome. So there we go.
Yeah, I can't wait though. Because we forgot to discuss the final part where a Malwish warship was heading to.
Yeah,
and Wax
I'm
was
sure
like,
that's going to be Chapter 9.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I do know that Chapter 9 is from a Wax perspective, and he was heading to check out the warship just before.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what is likely to be a delicate diplomatic situation is when you bring like a 5-year-old with you or whatever.
Well, here's the thing. That warship, it was very reminiscent to me of the ones above from Six of the Dusk. It's this large vessel, sort of foreign, sort of alien, unknown, coming in. Not threatening. Like, it's not particularly threatening, but it's just saying, hey, just don't mess with us.
I'm here.
It's like Bill says with Spice. Just enough to let you know it's there.
With heat, yeah. Okay. Well, special thanks to our patron producer, Mim's Laundry Service. Ask us about our brand new SUNY Cub repair service. In addition to the live episodes of the show that stream on twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table every 2 weeks on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, listeners can find our videos on YouTube or audio versions of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and just about any other service that carries podcasts by searching for Cosmere Studies. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the profile @Cosmere Studies. Our next episode will likely be more discussion of preview chapters, so join the live recording on Monday, October 24th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern at www.twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table and be part of the live discussion. Until then, though, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks for listening, and remember,
there's always another secret.